Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And I can already see you guys are in the chat. Some of you guys are on my head because I was a couple minutes late. Simmer down. I just needed to take care of something really quick. But I was only like 2 minutes late. Like, gosh, you guys are always on me. But happy Sunday to all of you guys. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Sorry I wasn't able to do this show immediately following the game. That was my plan, but my washer and dryer both decided not to work. And I'm sorry, I cannot go into a new week with a bunch of dirty clothes. I had about 4 or 5 loads of clothes because I also had stuff from my Hawaii trip. Like, I had piles and piles of laundry. So I actually had to drive to my parents' house and use their washer and dryer for the day. So yeah, I know it's like, you left us for laundry, but you don't understand. There was a lot going on. And I wasn't gonna be able to do it today. But you guys don't give a shit about that because we won 5-0 and Eze was announced. We have to talk about the injuries, get updates on those. I want to talk about Kivior as well, because there's been some news around him and whether or not he's gonna leave or whatever. And so, yeah. I'm feeling a little misty right now. I can't lie. Like, I was watching a little bit of the Man United game. I know that Smith Rowe just equalized, but I really just wanted to watch that Eze interview. And I was watching a little bit of that, and his interview with Ian Wright is just, I don't know. I told you guys that I was gonna cry, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I shed a thug tear. I did. I'm not gonna lie. This is like the only signing that I wanted. This was it. So, I feel very nice. Like, it feels nice to get the signing over the line that you wanted, and it happened in like a day. And this is probably the most universally loved signing that Arsenal has made in a very long time. I can't remember another one, maybe Ozil. So yeah, it feels really, really good. And so if you guys haven't gotten a chance to watch the interview that he had done with Ian Wright, to watch the little bit of, that call that he had with Thierry Henry, it just goes to show that, like, in the past, like, Ian and Thierry Henry have both been critical of Arsenal at times, maybe more Thierry than Ian, but they're critical when they need to be, but they're supportive when it matters as well. And I just think that they're the perfect example of what an Arsenal legend should be. And with a signing like this, you love to see it. You love to see them kind of being involved and, very much so, just as like in love with the signing as we are. And yeah, it's just been a really nice couple of days for Arsenal and Arsenal fans. And, we capped it off with this 5-0 win, which we'll get to, but everything, the unveiling, the announcement video, everything was just perfection. I just don't know. If this is what it feels like to beat your arch rivals to the perfect signing, and then, like, how is it going to feel when we actually win something? I just think that was like the first thing I thought. I was like seeing Arsenal fans, like watching all of the reactions of the Eze announcement and seeing all the smiles on faces. I mean, even the most, pessimistic Arsenal fan was just elated, except for one. but it when we win something, it's gonna feel so good. And I guess I want to ask you guys before we get into the match reaction. Um, by the way, this is going to be a longish stream. So get some snacks and get some water because we have like a lot of things to talk about. But how big of a signing is Eze, and how much more confident do you feel about Arsenal winning things now that he's signed? Um, I feel like signing's way different. You know, I know that before we did the Eze signing, the narrative for certain people was, yeah, but we signed 6 people, and we lifted the floor, and we brought in players that are gonna make sure that Saka doesn't have to play every single game and Saliba doesn't have to play every single game. But you know, it did kind of feel like something was really missing. Like it felt like there was an elephant in the room where it was like, yeah, we signed 6 players, but like 3 of those players are not going to change the ceiling of the team, really. Maybe even 4, because we don't really know we don't know what Nani is, right? We don't know what his level is going to be like for Arsenal. So it's basically just Gyokeres. Um, and for me personally, this signing has taken a window that was probably about 6.5, 7 to a 9. I feel like the only way 9, 9.5, the only way that it could get better is if we bring in a left wing, which I still think we need like an actual left winger, but we can talk about that later. It just feels like some signings mean more. And without them, the window does look a lot less successful, because it's not just the amount of players that you buy, it's the type of players that you buy and what was the remit. And the remit was, yes, we want to make sure that we replace Jorginho. Yes, we want to get a backup goalkeeper. Yes, we want to make sure that we support Gabriel and Saliba. Yes, we want to make sure that we support Saka, but we needed 2 starters in the front line. And now we've gotten it. And now I feel a lot more confident that we can win something. And it was literally just that for me. We needed 2 level raisers in the attack, and we've got those. Now I feel like we can go on and win something. Oh, by the way, we had 2 big injuries. Actually, we have 3. But during the game, we had 2 injuries to 2 starters. And I felt a lot better when other people came on and did their thing. We look so much more capable to deal with the ups and downs and peaks and troughs of a very long season that's going to require Arsenal to perform at a very high level consistently, no matter what's going on. And so I'm feeling like where I was like, maybe a Carabao Cup, maybe a FA Cup, maybe if we get lucky, Champions League. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like we might be able to do something. Maybe I'll feel differently if it all goes bad at Anfield, but I'm feeling good now. And that is the difference between having Eze and not. It's just that simple. Let me read some of your guys' comments. Jerome is saying Saka and Odegaard injury apparently not that bad as initially feared. We'll definitely talk about that too. Let's see. The Eze signing is not just about getting an extremely talented player, but he is one of us playing for the club. He is a level raiser. I feel like it's destined we win something big with him. Doesn't it feel like it? I feel like I get it that like it's so Disney and it's so Arsenal like for me to take something like a signing and make it into like it means something. But it does feel like it means something. The way that it's come about, the timing of it. It feels like I could see Eze scoring some really big goals for us. I can see it. And in the big games that are going to be the difference between us winning silverware or not, because that's ultimately the type of player that he is. But I feel like he's going to be so motivated to do that for a club that he loves just as much as we do. So it feels good. Let's see. The Emancipating Poet says, I'll speak from a Barcelona perspective. For me, it was when Barcelona signed Neymar in 2013, and in 2013, 2013 season. It was Messi and inshallah, similar to Saka's situation at Arsenal. I hear that for sure. I think our chances of winning stuff goes up 10%. This is a huge signing. He's a maverick, a star, a brilliant player. As a signing, made the transfer window a 10 out of 10. I've not known a transfer window as massive as this is for us. Ian Wright should have a statue. He's done so much for the club. He has done so much for the club. And I'll never forget last summer when so many Arsenal fans kind of turned their back on him because he suggested, I feel like in a moment of like maybe panic and emotion, that Saka should play left back for England. And you know how they go, you know how they get. And then all of a sudden, Ian's not a part of any of like the media stuff. He's not really in the club as much. And like he's there and he's around, obviously, because he still supports, but he was not that front facing, like, representative anymore. They had like replaced him with Theo Walcott. It was very clear that I think from a media and a PR standpoint, because of the comment that he made and because of how negative so many fans had become around Ian, just because of that single comment, that they wanted to distance themselves from him. But the reality is that Ian is such a fan of the club, not just, you know, the men's side, but also the women's side, that it would really just be really stupid of Arsenal not to keep him close. And there's not a lot of closeness between Arsenal and some of their bigger legends. Like, obviously, like there's a closeness with Theo, there's a closeness with Ali Adier, there's a closeness with like Alan Smith. But I feel like the big faces that people want to see around are just not there. And I think it's important to make sure that you keep those people around because they've been there and done that and won the t-shirt. And it just adds a little bit of something when you have somebody like Ian Wright that will pick up the phone and call Gyokeres after a lukewarm debut against Manchester United and tell him it's all going to be okay, just for him to turn around against Leeds and get a brace. Those things matter. I think they're soft factors, but I think they matter. And Ian Wright is the perfect kind of example of what I feel like a legend of Arsenal should be and how they should use their platform to not spread false positivity, but represent the club well, but then also behind the scenes do the work to try to help the club from their vantage point as well. He's just the perfect legend to me. I also think Thierry Henry is a really good legend for us as well. I know that he's a little bit more prickly, but in a world where I feel like some of our legends kind of like to hate, Ian Wright is a national treasure. He is special. Get behind me. If anybody says anything about Ian, I will fight you over it. He does deserve a statue. And Arsenal would be silly to ever let a bunch of online losers make them feel like they need to distance themselves from somebody who genuinely has the best intentions and love for Arsenal Football Club. Wrighty is a legend, and of whatever his opinions may be and whether they align with me or not doesn't matter. He's a legend. And it all comes from a place of like love and genuine. It's like all genuine. There's no ulterior motives with Ian. So I agree with you. Like, even if I don't agree with some of his opinions, which sometimes I don't, I do feel like it comes from a genuine place. And so he's not trying to dig down on people just because. I don't think he said play Saka at left back because he feels like Saka is shit or anything like that. It was just, I think, a moment of like panic from England because they were like they made it to the final, but they weren't playing well in the Euros, you know, but he loves this club down. He needs a statue like yesterday. Righty and Henry just want the best for their club. And I feel like it emanates and it comes through where I just think some people are so sensitive and they feel like the only way to support the club is to support blindly with no criticism whatsoever. But anybody with their head screwed on can see that it's genuine. So like, and that doesn't come very often. We're not the only fan base that has legends that actively campaign against the club. Manchester United have some of the worst, to be honest. You know, I think Manchester United have some of the worst legends from the perspective of they just seem to want to be negative, but you don't necessarily see them being positive or adding anything constructive criticism. It is just criticism. And so, yeah, when you have somebody like Righty, hold on to them tight because it could be dark. It could get dark. Eze and Gyokeres are statement signings, and we will definitely win something big with this squad. We have quality, depth, experience, and youthful exuberance, so we are good to go now. Gunner from South Africa. They should do a Rocky and Brighty statue. That would be so sweet. I kind of hear it, to be honest. Always believed Gyokeres and Eze are both level raisers. If we weren't such bottlers, I'd tip us for the league. Then again, they both raise in big games. Let's see. He will score next Sunday. Same. The fact that Eze is so comfy scoring from distance alone is such a difference maker for us. Eze has all the kind of things that you need to break down deep blocks, which is why he's going to be so important for us. It's the long range shots. It's the, being able to dribble through the blocks, things like that. Like, he has all the things that are going to help us, which is great. Our deep bench will help us win trophies this season, for sure. And I don't know, like, I felt safe, and just kind of pivoting now to the game. When Saka came off and when Odegaard came off, I still felt safe. Like, it was Leeds. So, like, I want to caveat that with maybe it would have felt a little bit different if we were playing better opposition, but it's been a long time at Arsenal where players come off and it doesn't feel like the alarm bells are ringing. Like, no offense to this player, but like, there were times where, like, if Jesus wasn't there and we knew Nketiah was going to play, I'd instantly feel like a sense of devastation, like, because I just know that the levels are like nowhere near the same. There's a big difference between Saliba coming off or Gabriel coming off and Mosquera coming on. You get what I'm saying? So I feel a lot safer with the level of depth that we have. I mean, Martinelli and Marino didn't even get in the game, but then they're key players last season, but they didn't even get in the game because we had Ethan, we had Madueke. So I felt safe. Like, I did. I was like, cool. If for some reason Saka and Odegaard can't play, personally, I have a lot of faith in Ethan. I would not shy away really from playing him in big matches at this stage. So yeah, I felt I do agree with the depth thing is a lot better. And in terms of like the update on Saka and Odegaard's injuries, it's been reported by who was it? Who was it that reported it? Gary Jacob, that it's not as bad as once feared, the injuries. So it's not going to be a long-term injuries for either player. So that's a good thing. But even when I thought about going to Anfield with, let's say, a front line of Eze, Gyokeres, and Madueke, and a midfield of Zubi, Rice, and Ethan, I felt, yeah, we could probably still do something. Am I crazy for thinking that? Or am I just hyped up on the Eze high? Because I felt very like, we'll be okay. Maybe, I'm still obviously so happy that Saka and Odegaard won't be out for long. But I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like we could do something still. I haven't felt like that in a long time. Yeah, the depth is insane. I mean, we haven't sold anyone. Dio says we're winning the league, by the way. Now, first of all, I haven't seen you in a million years, so welcome. Are you trolling? Because this is an interesting statement coming from you. I need more background. I need more explanation there. Josh says, I'm really interested to see how the manager does rotation this season. And maybe these were precautionary because they just didn't want to exacerbate either of the injuries for Saka or Odegaard. But the fact that Arteta just instantly brought them off and there wasn't any like play to the death against Leeds, maybe Arteta is learning. My thing about the Arteta thing is, even if I am maybe a little bit less positive on him now than I was before, there's always an opportunity for him to change my mind. And I will never pretend like I don't see positives and or improvement and or like, things that I was bitching about changing, if that makes sense. So, how he manages this season is going to be really important because we obviously have a couple of players that are coming off of big injuries, hamstring surgeries and stuff like that. But he has enough depth now where he should feel confident, to take Odegaard and Saka off against fucking Leeds at home and salvage their legs and shoulders or whatever, and trust the likes of Ethan and Madueke to lead us through, Trini says, how long will Saka and Odegaard be out for? They didn't say how long, but they said they're not long-term injuries. So there could be still the chance that neither of them will play against Liverpool. But I think when Saka originally went down, I was thinking he'll be out for months. Maybe it'll just be like a week, so we don't know the exact timeout yet, but just knowing they're not long-term injuries is satisfactory enough for me right now. Let's see. Smith Rowe equalized against United, and wasn't it a Wobie assist for sure? Like, hail in, baby. Fingers crossed for United in another relegation battle this season. Let's see. I doubt Saka plays. Arteta will want him rested through the international break. Let's see. No troll. We should be winning it. We are proper good this season. Something freakish would have to happen for us to bottle it this season. Those are big words coming from you, Dio, because it was all over not too long ago. What happened? We still don't need we don't need Matoma anymore. What's going on? Is the Eze signing just changed everything for you? Because I feel like it should change quite a bit for people. Because it changed a lot for me. That is a big signing. So, yeah, seeing MLS, Max, and Ethan on the pitch was awesome. So let's chat. The game, I would say maybe like the first half wasn't the most entertaining. But, outside of the one chance that Raya had to save, it was a really good save as well on a corner. I thought we were pretty much in control. I think, we started off a little slow. But, once Timber scored, we kind of loosened up a little bit and started playing a little bit better. I'm not going to lie. When Gyokeres missed that one chance, I think we pressed really well from the front. Saka pressed one of their center backs and, pressing, and Zubimendi nicks the ball and it gets to Gyokeres and he misses like a wide open goal. I was like, Victor, please don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Like, I literally don't do this. I can't do it. Like, I believe in you, but don't do this. It was just, yeah, that was a huge missed opportunity, which, to be fair, if that were Kai, I feel like the reaction to it would have been a lot worse. I expect as his sharpness and confidence to grows, it'll be less likely that he'll miss a chance like that. But, those are the types of chances that I feel like obviously we would want to see go in the back of the net to open up the game a lot sooner. But we did end up opening up the game with the Timber corner. Timber had a madness of a game. Timber had a madness of a game. The fullbacks, that Calafiori Timber fullback pairing moved me. It moved me. It was perfect. Now, Cala has his flaws in terms of defending, but what you get from him going forward is so good that I don't give a fuck. Maybe I'll regret it if he gets smoked by Salah next week. But right now, I am enjoying Calafiori. I am enjoying his IQ in the final third. I am enjoying the energy that he has in going forward. I am enjoying that. He didn't get 2 assists. I know he at least got one. He got one for Gyokeres for sure. Yes. Yes. But Timber, I told you guys, you guys been here, so you know how I feel about Timber. But just in case you don't know, Timber, he is a world-class fullback, and I'm gonna start the narrative is starting to get pushed today because he's just gone under the radar. He's gone under the radar. He is not getting anywhere near enough gas as he should because he's been one of the best, if not the best, right back for some months now. All he needs to do is clean it up in the final third. That was pretty much all it really was, because obviously, like, there are some fullbacks that are probably better than him in the final third. But like I've been telling you guys, it's not a, oh, he can't do those things, and White is just so good going forward, and Timber's just good defensively. And, when we play against, worse teams, White needs to play. And when we play against, good teams with good, attackers, Timber needs to play. No, baby. Timber can and is growing into a complete fullback. He is. Like, he's gonna be a complete fullback. You just need, he came to us at like 22. He literally just needs time to like bed into that attacking bag. I'm so sorry, but like, we need to stop trying to limit Timber to being like this defensive fucking dynamo thing. He is way more than just a defensive player. He just needed to clean it up in the final third. 2 goals, 1 assist, the assist for Saka. It's going to go under the radar, I feel, because it wasn't like a line splitting pass, but it was the perfect pass to lead Saka into that position. It wasn't too fast. He didn't have to slow up. It didn't go too close to the goalkeeper. And it was the quickness in which we turned over the ball. Ethan tries to, kind of beat his man or several men centrally. We lose the ball. Declan Rice wins the ball back, nicks it over to Zubimendi. Zubimendi passes it quickly to Timber. Timber passes it quickly to Saka. Boom, goal, right-footed, roof of the net. Timber, we're going to start running agendas soon. We're going to start running the campaign soon. Timber, best right back. The only person I feel like that can chat to him is Hakimi, but I would not trade Timber for anyone. Trust and believe. That is one of Arteta's best signings. That is Arteta, like, up there with Gabriel. Value for money. No notes. 10 out of 10. He is it. Like, he is it. He is it. He is it. I'm so excited for Timber, especially after, like, losing an entire season, coming back and having the season that he did last season, and then now he's going to go to another level. Timber is amazing. Our lack of trophies is stopping Timber from getting the world-class shouts he deserves. Or is it just because he plays for Chelsea and that he can't be better than any of our players? You guys talking about Reece James? Reece James is 27 years old and can't stay out of the medical room. I'm not doing the, I need to cow down to Reece James in 2025. I'm not doing that. I'm pushing my player forward. I'm pushing him into conversations. Sorry. Like, we must. If any other team had Timber, they would be pushing him into conversations. We need to stop being so shy about putting our players into certain conversations just because they don't have the trophies. Like, we have 3 world-class players that start in our back line right now. So because he's 27, he's not good enough as Timber. No, that's not what I said. I mean, he's 27 and he's always on the medical table. And so outside of the 1 or 2 games that he plays this season, I don't see why we still need to be pretending like Reece James is infallible and he cannot be usurped by someone else that plays games. So Reece James is a fabulous player, and when he does play, he shows it, but that I'm not going to be shy about saying that Timber is up there, if not the best, because we've always kind of just defaulted to Trent and Reece James. It's 2025. So yeah, if you have a problem with it, you can live with that. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Timber performance at this level off the back of ACL is the same. I also want to say, like, it never stops anyone else for pushing their raggedy wingers into conversations with Saka, and they'd be having like one or two like regular ass fucking games. Regular games. You know, a goal here, an assist there, all of a sudden they're better than Saka. So yeah, you're damn skippy. I'm gonna push Timber into conversations that he definitely deserves to be in for sure. Like, so if you have a gnat up your ass about it, continue. Like, I don't feel any type of way. Timber is a complete fullback, a defender who can attack and an attacker who can defend. So yeah, you guys can have a problem with that if you want to. I really don't care. Timber. But yeah, 2 goals, 1 assist. Whoever put him into their FPL is probably like, wow. I think they said like 15 people did. I think. So they're, like they're probably feeling good about it because it was just, like I'm sure he'll be in a lot of people's teams soon, but yeah. And like I said, Kala, I thought also had a really, really good game too. He had like maybe one little moment where him and Madueke weren't on the same page, but outside of that, I think you're seeing good like signs of Kala and what he can give to us. And that doesn't have anything to do with how I feel about Miles. I think Miles just maybe has started off a little bit slower than Kala, which is fine because Kala will need to come out and then Miles will be ready to go. So, we're in a good position there with the two of them. But I thought they both had really, really good games. 2 assists for Kala, 2 goals, and 1 assist for Timber. So we're good there. Calafiori is refusing to let that left back spot go. Timber is better than Trent, by the way. Timber is a baller, and defensively, no one is touching him. He just needs to. I feel like the thing is, with Timber is the more he plays with the people around him, the better he'll get. Like with the mental telepathy. I know that Ben and Saka had a really good like vibe, and so it's different when Timber and Saka because they're White and Timber are 2 completely different players. But he's just a phenomenal footballer that I feel like even without the really good chemistry, there's no reason to play a lesser player just because of chemistry. Timber is just that guy, so over time it'll get better, but there's just something about the close control, the way that he wins the ball. There was like a moment where this is like when Saka was off or whatever, and Madueke and him were on that same side together, and Timber just the way that he won that ball back, and then Madueke flicks it to him, and then Timber passes the ball to Ethan, and then Ethan spins and shoots, and it goes wide. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. Let's see. The only right back that can talk to Timber is Hakimi. Not sure we can even talk about Hakimi anymore. If we sell Kivior, we need to get a left back and push Skelly to midfield. I'm not trying to see Marino midfield. So yeah. Before we get to some of the attacking performances, I do want to just touch on Mosquera. Because I think he had another really good cameo, and I can't believe they let him have they let us have him for 13 million. I can't. Right back, right center back, left center back. He can play across the back line. He was the perfect player to replace Tomiyasu. And so I think even in times where maybe Ben is not fit and we need to manage Timber's minutes, we can also just play Mosquera at right back. Yeah, that was a really, really good signing. He looked good. I want to see him tested a little bit more to just see where he is defensively against better opposition. But outside of that, Mosquera was a slam dunk signing. Slam dunk. One thing we know is defenders. For sure. Let's see. Can play across all defensive positions. Mosquera is so good. 13 million bargain. Hakimi and Koundé. I don't know. Kivior leaves means the politician stays. Oh, I was like, I don't even know what you mean by that, but yeah, I know I hear that. Um, did you see the Saeed's ending the stream immediately after Gyokeres scored the brace? I mean, it was a failed hate watch, that's for sure. Koundé can't talk to Timber. I'm kind of in the same boat with that. I don't think Koundé is on the same level. I really think it's like a very few players that are in these conversations, like 1, 2, 3, maybe. Mosquera is one of the fastest defenders I have seen. So yeah, I really like what Mosquera has shown so far. Obviously, our center back pairing was doing what our center back pairing usually does, which is boss it, so no real need to spend a lot of time on them. So moving to midfield, I thought Zubimendi and Rice together had a really good performance in terms of the pivot that we want to see. Rice was not in the pocket, in high positions. He also looked fitter than he has in the last couple, definitely the last game, because his Man United performance. We don't need to speak too much on that. But in terms of the two of them in that pivot, I thought that they had a good performance. Was it flawless? No, but I don't expect it to be. It's the second game of the season. But Zubimendi, the performances that he's putting in, despite not being up to speed on the league, I think you can only imagine what he's going to be like with a couple more months under his belt. I think what Zubimendi gives us that we desperately need is tempo. I think he's somebody that plays with less touches, which is imperative for a team that I think has gotten a little bit too used to playing with the ball underneath their feet and being ponderous on it. He really wants to play 1-2 touch. He's one touch with one foot, the second touch off his right foot, boom. Like he's like, let's go, let's go. And so although there was maybe a little bit of sloppiness there, like there was one passage of play where he tried to pass it forward to somebody, tried to be vertical, it got cut out, came back to him, he tried to do it again, it got cut out, and then he got fouled. I like the intention to be more vertical, and we're going to get a lot more benefit from that in the future once he really kind of beds into the league. You can see that there is a true adaptation to the league with Zubimendi, but I like the fact that we're willing to allow him to adapt without this fear of needing to play somebody else because he's not up to speed. How are you going to adapt to the league if you're not playing in it? We have a difficult set of games at the beginning, but if we can get points while he adapts through those games, he'll be a lot better for it. So Zubimendi's been, to me, really impressive in terms of being able to adapt and still have really good moments. I know that he's probably one of those types of players that will go under the radar because what he does is not super bombastic. He's not running through people's ankles and stuff like that, but he's a very good player. And the combination of him and Rice does work really well together. And we're starting to see that form. I never thought that the combination of Rice and Partey felt right. There was no chemistry between the two of them. And that could be because Arteta preferred Rice to play so far forward when they played together. But this double pivot thing that we're doing, I like it. I like it a lot. Did you notice that Rice was playing more on the right side? I felt like they were kind of picking and choosing who went forward and who went back into the center backs. And so you did see Rice pop up on the right. You saw Zubimendi pop up on the left. Zubimendi was everywhere. There were times where he was on the left wing and the right wing. Zubimendi, I guess, if you know Rice is behind you, you feel confident. Not even just Rice. You have Saliba and Gabriel as well, that you can just kind of pop up everywhere. I like this. I really like this combination. I think it's going to work for us, and it's going to allow for whoever plays the more attack mid position to feel a lot more freedom. And so we'll see how that develops for sure. Once the synergy is established amongst the players, they will be unstoppable. Right on point about Zubi. Let's see. Zubi is very good because of his simplicity, which is interesting because I feel like that's the reason why people are not going to, maybe don't see the signing as such a big signing, because it's yeah, but he's not doing these wonder passes and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes football is simple and you just need somebody to be able to execute the simple things well, and he does that. And one underrated quality of Zubimendi's game is although he's not tackling through people's ankles and putting in these like crunching tackles that I feel like is very akin to Englishness, which is why I feel like somebody like Zubimendi won't be preferred over like a Caicedo because Caicedo is a crunching tackle kind of guy. Um, even like Onana, they like those types of players that are like gonna run through you types. Zubimendi's not going to do that, but trust and believe he's winning that ball back. Zubimendi wins that ball back. He may not be slide tackling, but his anticipation and his ability to kind of anticipate where you're going to try to go and nick the ball off of you. That's why, I mean, I know he got a yellow card in his first game in the Premier League, but I feel like that's why he doesn't get that many yellows, which is good for us because we really don't need our number 6 getting lots of yellows and being in a position, like a precarious situation in games like that. So yeah, I thought Rice's performance was miles better than what it was against United, which I only really felt was a fitness issue anyway. But Zubimendi is adapting really well, and there's once the chemistry really builds between the two of those, and we continue to play more of this double pivot, it's going to allow more opportunities for the Ethans and even like Eze and whoever's playing in the 10 or the attack mid position to just create. And I think that's going to make us a much better team. Roy Keane said it best. Sometimes the best players are the best because they do simple things like making the right pass or tackle. I like Zubimendi on the ball, but I'm not jumping to conclusions with the out of position play. Newcastle away will tell me everything I need to know. Zubimendi is one of those players that fans will only appreciate when he's not in the squad. The guy is elite, and I'm not here for the slander against him. By the way, has Rodri's winning streak ended since he was present when City lost? That's funny. That's exactly what Rodri is, simplicity at the highest level. He's very aggressive, but we haven't seen that yet. Give him time. That's exactly what Rodri is. I read that one. I've noticed that rival fans hate how defensively good we are because in the past we've been easily physically bullied, which going like just I know I don't want to get too off track because I do want to talk about Ethan. He deserves a big chunk of our time today for sure. But City reminded me so much of what we look like under Arsene in the 2010s against Spurs. Lightweight, weak, bullied. They looked shocking. And they had a strong team on paper out there, but they went full tech. And of course, you need technical quality in your team. I'm not saying you don't, and that you should just be stoking it out. But my goodness, were they overpowered in that game against Spurs? And there was nothing that they could do to make themselves more of a threat. They don't have, outside of Holland, they don't have very many strong runners. They don't have any PMP in midfield. Their fullbacks are easy to get at. Their center back pairing, wow. And James Trafford, what a way to introduce yourself to the Etihad, because you actually should have been sent off, but you made up for it for just giving Spurs the ball, like in a straight pass into somebody that was marked by 3 people. That reminded me so much of how we used to look against the Big Six. And so although we do need to add more technical quality in our attacking areas, and I feel like we're doing that, whether that's through introducing more Haaland players to the team and Ethan and Max Dowman or buying Eze, you will never catch me saying anything bad about the fact that we are big and strong and athletic at the back. Like, because that was just, they got eaten alive. They got eaten alive. Eaten alive. Eaten alive. It was dark. It was dark. Yes, Jess, that City performance was shocking. If we had that performance, we'd be dominating headlines. I feel, but the thing with City, and maybe it's trophy tax as well, is that there's always an element of they'll get it right eventually. Like, so let's not worry about it. But yeah, for sure. If that was us, whoo, honey, we'd be hearing about it right now. Still to the end of time. Let's see, Jess, they have the fewest game changers in the Pep era. But we had kind of spoken about this as well, and like I'll close this little bit of the conversation out because we need to talk about Arsenal. But it's really difficult to replace players that are one of one. And I don't think there's any combination of players that you could bring in this, in this past window to replace a KDB. KDB was the perfect number 10 for the Prem because where there was technical quality, there was also extreme PNP. And so he was able to rely upon one player to push them over the line and give his team that edge, and they lacked edge. Now, maybe when players like Reinders and Shirky and those types of players get used to the league, they'll be able to replicate some of that, but it is incredibly difficult to replace a player that is quite literally a one of one, a special rainbow unicorn type of player. You will never find it again for years. For years. I mean, Liverpool fans, first game of the season, were already putting out think pieces about why you can't look at Wirtz as a KDB because they don't want a really good player to be compared against a player that he will never live up to those expectations. Just like nobody will ever be able to replicate Henri. It's really, really difficult, so something to watch. But Ethan, I think, had one of his best games in midfield for Arsenal, if not his best. It was against Leeds, but that's neither here nor there. I feel like he came in and he kept it ticking, but he also tried to do things. Some things came off, some things didn't. But if there's this is where I feel like Arteta needs to put his money where his mouth is, because I feel like you give Ethan this big contract and, they kept saying that he's going to be the backup to Odegaard. If Odegaard is injured and it's not looking like, he's super ready for the game against Liverpool. I get that it's a big game, but can Ethan play against Liverpool, or is it like we need to manipulate things and put Marino in there again? I don't really want to see that. I really don't want to see us like trying to manipulate things to keep Ethan from being out there. I feel like the only way for Ethan to really learn how to play that position is to play it. And, if you have your best team out there and Ethan, it shouldn't be like the end of the world. But, Arteta will have to make this decision if it comes down to it. But I feel like Ethan, even in the game against Leeds, showed that maybe he still has a little out of possession problems, whatever. But he is starting to learn how to play that position, not like a winger, but as an actual midfielder that's facilitating and helping ticking the game along while also trying to be creative. I feel like this is Ethan's spot. I feel like this is the spot that he's earned. And the contract that he received reflects a player that should be coming in for Odegaard if Odegaard is injured. And to me, it would put a little sour taste in my mouth if what we did against Liverpool was try to figure out a way not to play Ethan because we were scared to play him. I get it's Liverpool. I get it's a big game, but I don't see any benefit of putting like a Marino or anything like that in there. You could put Eze there, but I also want to make sure that we have our strongest possible front line. And I just feel like we'd be stronger with if Saka can't play Madueke, Gyokeres, Eze, and Ethan rather than Eze in midfield and Martinelli on the wing. Sorry. If I'm trying to figure out a way to plug the holes of Saka and Odegaard, I want to plug those holes with our best possible players. And to me, that's going to be Eze, Madueke on the right, and Ethan in the 10 instead of Martinelli on the wing. So, yeah. That's kind of what I would do if both of those players cannot play. Now, I suspect at least one of them will be able to play. Multiple outlets are uh, kind of reporting that these injuries are not as bad as once feared. So obviously, there's no time stamp on when they'll be back, and there's still a chance that both, one, neither are out for Anfield. But we have enough options where I don't think we need to panic. But I also don't want to see this thing that we do where when we get into a position where maybe Ethan could play in his right position, we don't give him that opportunity because we're playing against better sides. I just don't feel like that reflects the player that they said that he was, but maybe that's just me. You know, maybe I'm just, you know, putting too much pressure on him or, whatever. And I understand that. But my best team without Saka and Odegaard would have Eze, Madueke, and Ethan in it. So, yeah. Let's see. BBC said Arsenal confirmed scan on Saka and Odegaard is not serious possibility. They both fit for Liverpool, which would piss Liverpool fans off. They are rattled out of everyone. They're the most rattled out of everybody. Oh, you stole our Chiesa chant. Oh, the Gyokeres thing is so cringe. Oh, Arteta lying about injuries. Come on. Like, grow up. Seriously. Chants have been remade over and over. I heard somebody use the Saliba tequila chant. Don't they just recycle those shits all the time? Why are you crying? I don't get it. And you're not obligated. You're not obligated to play against a weakened Arsenal every single time you play us. Recently you've played against weakened Arsenal teams quite a bit, and maybe you feel like it's your God-given right to always play against a weakened Arsenal, but maybe you don't get that this time. Like, you're Liverpool, the favorites. You should feel like you're fine playing at home against Arsenal. Like, I don't understand why they're crying. They are moaning a lot, and I just like, why? I don't get it. I think Martinelli will get moved on this window. Trossard was even ahead of him. Yeah, but Ethan, I actually thought had a really good game. And I think with more time in that position, he'll only get better. I love Ethan. I think he's gotten lost in a little bit of the max hype, but he's an 18-year-old that has immense quality, and for him to have broken through into the team at such a young age, I feel like it's a really nice thing. So, yeah, I want to see more of Ethan in his natural position. I want to see him trusted, but that's up to Arteta to make that decision. So, we'll see what he does if Odegaard can't play. Let's read some of your guys' comments before we get to the attackers. Martinelli backup 9. I thought Saka was not world class and Odegaard is shit, so why do they care if they're fit or not? I mean, just so much whinge, just so much like, oh my God. It's like, you're not obligated to play against a weakened Arsenal. Like, I think that this is a difficult week for rivals because they were really prepping for Eze going to Spurs, and they were going to get us for that. And then, we won our game and Gyokeres got the brace. And I just think it's been a lot for them for some reason. So they're like acting weird, but I'm just like, we genuinely are just living our lives. You don't have to engage in what we're doing, Let's see. To be honest, Martinelli will be sold in Jan, then Trossard will play left as a 10, then Madueke on the right. Let's see. I want to go back to some of these. Arteta plays mind games a lot. Don't be surprised if Saka and Odegaard will be available to start. Odegaard came off. Immediately the team started clicking. Did you notice? Sure, they started clicking immediately after he came off. I think Arsenal will play Martinelli next week because it's away from home and we should use speed and counterattack. Um, Very interested to see how Gyokeres plays against better defenses again. Ethan is the only one attacking central spaces. I really hope Arteta finally understands the value of central maverick. If he loses the ball, we blitz and he doesn't, it unblocks any defense. But I also feel like this is why I never really understood why Arsenal fans, they only get upset when certain people lose the ball in central areas. But when Ethan did it, it was fine because we won the ball back and the space was open. When you attack central spaces, you're going to lose the ball. And when you do risky things, you're going to lose the ball. And I think as a fan base, we need to get used to it no matter who it is. It's not okay only when certain people do it. We don't want our players being afraid to lose the ball. We have a good enough defense to win it back. We have a defensive juggernaut in Declan Rice there to win the ball back for us. We have Saliba and Gabriel and Timber and these players. Like, it's not a big deal. As a team, we should feel more confident attacking central areas. And I like how Ethan did that in this game. And hopefully everybody will learn how to go down the middle, because we've been avoiding that spot for a long time. The midfield is where the battle will be won. The battle will be out in Anfield. Rice, Zubi, and Eze will be the strongest for that game. I don't think Eze will start at right center mid in that game. In the first game that he plays for us, I don't think it'll happen. I know that's what people want, but let's be real. Eze's historical heat map feels more left 8-ish or left wing than Arteta would use at 10, at least for me. And this is why I still feel like people are putting Eze at right center mid and kind of ignoring his heat map and also everything that's been said about him playing on the left-hand side. If he starts at Anfield, which he probably should, he'll probably start at left wing. And again, Ethan is supposed to be Odegaard's backup. And so it really wouldn't be that good of a message to send to Ethan that somebody that doesn't even play that position is going to play that position right after you played well against Leeds, like right away. Like you either trust Ethan or you don't, so let's see how it unfolds. But I just don't see Eze starting at right center mid in his first game when Ethan is there. I just don't see it, but maybe he does. I don't know. By the way, Jess, yes, I will still take Matoma. That's generational gapping of the league. If we do that, they'll have to spend $1 billion more to catch up with us after that. Ethan's next phase is when to release the ball when it's not on. But I like the fact that Ethan is trying to force the issue when he's playing in that position. And yes, he will learn when to get rid of the ball, because I do feel like sometimes, like there was a moment where we were breaking, and I actually think Gyokeres' run actually was a big problem in that sequence, because it was Dauman, Gyokeres, and Ethan dribbling with the ball, and instead of Gyokeres going wide and leaving the space for Ethan wide open, he kind of crossed over a little bit, and so Ethan ended up going into that left channel by himself and losing the ball when he should have just kicked it out to Max. But as a team, we'll learn the runs a lot better. But when it comes to Ethan, I do think that he will learn when to release it, but the positions that he gets himself into and his intentions are always good. It's coming. But he needs to play in this position so much more because he can't learn it from the bench. And this is why I'm kind of putting pressure on that. You can't just at the first sight of Odegaard not playing, just cover it up and not play Ethan there. I think you kind of should, but that's just me. I know a lot of people don't trust Arteta, but if Odegaard isn't fit, Arteta will start Ethan. This is why we got Madueke to cover Saka and sometimes play left wing. I don't think the whole plan changes because Eze's here. I still think Ethan is going to play in the position that he was told he was going to play when he signed that new deal. And, we need to trust Ethan a lot more. So we'll see how that goes. Banksy says, I just think Ethan has shown that he's better on the wings, but either way, he needs to make himself available for all forward positions. It was so frustrating talking with a friend of mine. The Odegaard focus made him forget Eze's on the left. Rice is even better going to the right if they really want to bench Odegaard. They don't want to bench Odegaard, though. That's the problem is you guys want to bench Odegaard, but Arteta doesn't. So that's like another thing is if they really want to bench him, you guys want to bench him. There's been no indication that we're going to bench Odegaard. So, yeah. Apparently, Martinelli is our highest goal scorer from open play from the last 3 seasons. Sure. Martinelli didn't play at all, and I can see a world where he starts at Anfield. But, this could be a little bit like the Gabriel situation a couple years ago, where they are preparing for a Saudi bid that may or may not come in, and they don't wanna risk it. But, Arteta he kind of intimated that, like, this may not be the last signing. There's still maybe things that can happen. And if the window were to be like the perfect window in my mind, we would maybe sell Martinelli and bring in somebody like a Malik Fofana or somebody like that. I think the walls are really closing in on Martinelli here. Even though I think Madueke is better on the right, I think he showed quite a bit of positivity on the left. Trossard is not just going to let you take the position. I think one thing about Trossard that is really a hindrance to Martinelli is the fact that Trossard is very confident and thinks he's really, really good. And so if he senses weakness, he's going to try to make sure that he takes your spot. So Trossard staying, Madueke playing on the left multiple times since he signed, and also Eze is a little bit of, and I feel like an indication of Martinelli's lessening role in this team. Did we miss him? No, not really. But I can see him starting at Anfield. Just because once we play at Anfield, there'll only be like a day or 2 left in the window, right? Because we play at Anfield. Let's see. We play at Anfield like on the 30th or yeah, so the window closes on that Monday. So if he starts at Anfield, maybe the door is closed on a sale, but this week is going to be really important for our window, I feel, because obviously this is it, so Kivior might go. We'll see what happens with Zinni. But like Fabio and these guys, they have to go, Reece Nelson. And then we'll see what happens with Martinelli. Let's see. I go with Eze on the left, Madueke on the right, and Nwaneri in the 10. That should be perfect. It's actually almost the same quality. To me, that's what I would go with. But yeah, I don't know. When I say they, I mean my friend was obsessed with benching him. Jess, you completely misunderstood me. Sorry. I read it differently. My bad. But I do think that there are people that are obsessed with benching him, and I'm like, there's just no indication that the club feels the same way as you, but fairs. But also we have to talk about Gyokeres, because I'm not gonna lie, that first miss, I was like, fuck. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he missed that. He kind of snatched at it and it went wide, and there is like an undercurrent of, I feel like, people wanting him to flop, or because he had a poorish game against United, there was like this, it was like yeah, is he that good? Oh, and like now that he scored against Leeds, it's like, yeah, but how is he going to do against the better teams? Like there's always like this extra thing. But I think Gyokeres, you know, is the type of player that is going to force himself to succeed. And I think probably his best attribute is his mentality. And so I don't think that, a poorish game against Man United is going to stop him from doing anything. The goal that he scored was the quintessential Gyokeres goal. Calafiori kicks it into space on the left-hand side. He runs over there, gets it, beats 3 players, and kicks it in the corner. Like, it was so typical Gyokeres vintage, and I love it. You could also see that in some of the instances he looked fitter when he was running after the ball and stuff. I just feel like he's just not – he had a shorter preseason. He's probably going to take like a month or 2 to really bed in the way that we want him to, but if he can score those goals against the lower half, he'll do us such a big favor, because our problem really wasn't the big games. We would always like nick, the corners and, get the goals that we needed here, when we needed it. But I feel like one of our problems last season was the smaller teams. And so if he can make it easier for us to beat the smaller teams, I feel like that in itself is a big part of the goal, and I think he'll do just fine in the Champions League, where, to be honest, the gaps are just there for him to run into. And as long as we give him the ball, he'll do well. But I love the goal that he scored. It was an individual goal. Like, Calafiori did a really good job to put that ball into space. But outside of that, that was all Gyokeres, and we don't really have very many players in our team that will take a ball, cut it in, beat 3 players, and kick it in the back of the net. So to me, it was a brilliant goal. He reminds me a lot of Luis Suarez, and that's not a typical Arsenal striker. I know that we were meant to buy him at one point, but Luis Suarez, it was just kind of like a bastard, and nothing looked pretty, but it was really effective, and he was a nuisance. And I don't think Gyokeres will be biting anybody anytime soon, but hopefully. But I just find this style of center forward to be something that makes us different. And we could have went with the Ekitike, more aesthetically pleasing center forward, or somebody more like Jesus. But I like this. I feel like this, once he's fully fit and we're learning how, like, we're better at giving him the ball, we're going to be super dangerous, because he's just he's dying to score goals. That's all he really wants to do. And he really only got 2 chances and scored one of them. So, yeah, the way that he snatched the ball out of Declan's hands to get the penalty as well, he was never going to let Max Dowman take that penalty, and he shouldn't. He's our number 9. He's meant to be putting the ball in the back of the net for the penalties, and it was nice to see somebody walk up there with confidence and just smash it in the back of the net. Thank you. I loved it. Gyokeres, he's a funny guy too. Like, him making fun of all the people that were making fun of his hair flicks. He's box office. And I know this league in particular is very rigid and lacks the ability to laugh. I thought it was funny. You're not allowed to show personality, but he showed a little bit. And I feel like that's exactly what you need, but I'm interested to think what you guys think. What were you thinking when he missed the chance, and what were you thinking when he scored the goal? I mean, I was a little like, oh God, they're going to get you for that one thing that you missed. But the goal that he scored just shut them right up, and I love that. You are not allowed to show personality if you are an Arsenal player. Fair enough. We saw it with Miles Lewis-Skelly. You're just not allowed to have any personality whatsoever. They're just so rigid and weird. I just don't get it. It was funny, and obviously I feel like if you give it, you have to be able to take it. And I just have this thing about people will constantly go at players, but if players shut them up, then they're like upset about it for some reason. I just don't get that. Everybody was okay with Holland telling us to be humble and throwing the ball in the back of Gabriel's head, but MLS scores and does his celebration and they're all like losing their shit. So weird. He redeemed himself on that goal. I really don't feel he could have scored that first miss. He was running to press in a different direction, and the ball came by him quick. Got to give Mikel credit for giving minutes to Ethan, and Max thought he was going to play Marino and Martinelli. Yeah. Right now we don't know yet, but it does feel significant that they didn't play because they're like his tried and true last season. You know, he trusts Marino and he trusts Martinelli. Maybe he has a plan for them for Liverpool. You know, oh God, I think I would just simply pass away if I saw the team sheet and Marino was starting at center forward and Martinelli was starting on the wing. But you know, as of now, it does feel like Arteta is you know, using other players and asking different questions, and that's good. You know, let's see what he does at Anfield. I think what he does at Anfield is going to tell us quite a bit about how he views this team and how he views the hierarchy in this team going forward. Like players like Martinelli and Marino were pretty high on the hierarchy last season. Martinelli, obviously, like the default starter, and Marino, you know, backup left center mid. If Rice couldn't play there, Marino was going to play there. We shall see. You know, we will see what happens. Just question about Gyokeres above thoughts. Question about Gyokeres above thoughts. Where? There's a question about Gyokeres? I don't see a question. Oh, question about Gyokeres above thoughts? Let me see. Because you must have asked it a while back. If you can repost the question, then I will answer it because I don't see the question. Maybe it went by too fast or I'm just not looking right. But yeah, repost the question so I can see it. I can see Martinelli playing at Anfield. Arteta will think about covering Calafiori with Salah on that side. Not sure I agree. That's why I'm waiting before we fully put Martinelli, he's done and dusted, because Arteta could have just been resting Martinelli for Anfield. You know, Arteta has trusted Martinelli and Marino a lot, you know, so, and Marino technically would be the Kai, you know, like foil or like the person that's similar to him. So we'll see. Is both Nani and Nani came off, but Gyökeres played the full 90. So we'll see. What did you think of Gyökeres' off the ball movement? I didn't like his positioning of going to the side of the ball instead of sitting on the last defender, not being a target man, but maybe that's instructions. Well, I feel like this is why I was getting frustrated when Lee Dixon was saying that Gyökeres is like a big target man striker and he doesn't run the channels, because I actually feel, because he said that during the Man United game on the commentary that I was listening to, and I actually feel like that's the exact opposite to what he is. He is not a post up back to goal striker. So I really don't want to watch him posting up against center backs and losing headers. I want to see him peeling off of the back line and running into those wide channels and leaving space for other central while he runs those channels, because I feel like that's what he's best at. So I feel like, what do we want to do? Do we want to make Gyökeres into a different type of striker, or do we want him to play to his qualities? Because if we want to play to his qualities, even though he can do some of the post up and, you know, link up, actually think he's so much better running the channels, which is his bread and butter. All of the underlying metrics, the not underlying metrics, and the eye test and everything he's done at Sporting shows that he's not a back to goal post-up striker. He's not. So he's going to run those channels. And that's why when we were going through like who would be a better choice, Sesko or Gyokeres, I think a lot of people chose Sesko mostly because he's more of a plug and play, but Gyokeres is not anything like we've ever had before. So we're going to have to like change to his vibe, and his vibe is very much so running those channels. You know, so I don't think he's going to just sit onto the last defender centrally and be a target man, because that's not what he is at all. And at this stage, buying somebody to play him differently than what he's best at, I feel like would hurt us. So let's just do what he does best, and try to get the most out of a player who we bought in their prime. We don't have time to try to change him into something else. And to be honest, I think his play style suits a club that's probably been a little bit too risk adverse, too rigid, too stoic in the final third. I think his style challenges us to be more direct, challenges us to be more, have more movement in the final third. I think it works for us in the era that we're in right now, where we probably need to throw the attacking rule book into the trash, if that makes sense. So yeah. I actually think Gyokeres hold-up play is a bit better than I thought it would be. He is good at spinning people. I think he started pinning the defenders and chesting the ball down. We stopped lofting the ball into him. Gyokeres was definitely the better choice. He's similar to Haaland, though. They are big. They are not the best with their backs to goal. I agree with that. And I just think, ultimately, we're just going to have to figure out the best way to utilize him. His posting up, pinning defenders, and link up, I do agree with the previous comment, is better than probably what people give him credit for. But he needs to run those channels. And I'm going to be real. Watching Gyokeres play, I feel like, no offense to him, I'm not fat shaming him, I do think he's a little heavy right now. I don't know. Maybe when he was waiting, he was stress eating like I do. And so he needs to, one, get up to fitness, and two, maybe lose a couple pounds, and then the speed will come back, and then maybe it won't feel so clunky. But right now, he's looking a little on the heavier side, and maybe that's why people don't like to see him running those channels. But he is faster than what he looks like. He just is not fully fit. And Theo Walcott said that a lot when he was doing his post-match analysis. He kept reiterating the fitness, and I think an athlete to an athlete can sense that somebody is not fully fit yet. Gyokeres was eating takeout and watching Netflix while the transfer saga was happening. I didn't say fat. I'm not saying fat. I'm saying that he looks a little heavy. That's, he doesn't look light. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I liked how he pins the back to defenders. Not great with touches, but doing that when doing that. But he keeps winning fouls like that, which is good. Gets us up the pitch in that way. I agree that his fitness will develop as the season progresses. I had such a big grin when he got to run behind for that goal. People think that if teams play a low block, you can't create transition opportunities against them. Liverpool do it all the time. Also, I think, one, the Premier League becoming more like the Bundesliga year after year, and the quality of defending deteriorating before our eyes, means that we don't have to do this but it's the Premier League and it's going to be so hard for you to score goals. Like, give me a break. Like, this is not a defensive league anymore. The bottom sides do not prioritize being tough to beat. They all want to stick to their principles of playing good football. And what that ends up doing is meaning that we're going to find it a lot easier to break them down. And if they don't have great defensive principles, we're going to eat them up. So whether that's on corners, whether that's on transition, whether that's just passing between the blocks, I just do not see this element of this super defensive league that's going to keep. Knock it off. The Premier League is basically the Bundesliga. Basically, no one can defend. No one can defend. Seriously. So, and everybody that was, he's not going to get all that space. That goal looked just like a goal he scored in Portugal, and I get it's Leeds, but I don't actually think outside of the big six kind of teams, he's going to really struggle with being able to get behind them, get through them, or any of that, because they're all strippers. Like, who is a good defensive team? Who? Like, Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace to me is a good defensive team. Glasner doesn't fuck around. He has good defensive principles and they defend well. Nottingham Forest, and then the bigger teams. But outside of that, strippers. Strippers. Our number one weapon against low blocks is what makes us set piece FC. We just have to keep getting corners. If our corners are basically penalties, we're breaking the game open every game. They can't defend. They can't defend. They're not good defensively. Newcastle, yeah, good defensive side. So we've named probably, let's say, Liverpool. Do we want to say City is a good defensive team? We want to lie? Okay. All right. Fine. City, Liverpool. Let's say, City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea, Spuds, Nottingham Forest, and Crystal Palace. It's like 7 teams. So there's like 12 others. If he flat track bullies, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I don't care. So yeah, I just don't see this world where he's just not going to score goals, So yeah, Newcastle, West Ham, Everton are still very hard to break down. West Ham, no. Remember, Samuel, we've scored at least 10 goals at the London Stadium in the last 2 seasons. They're not hard to break down. We just shit the bed at home. They're not. Everton, maybe. Let's see. But traditionally, we've struggled with them. Newcastle. But there's like 12 other teams. So that's a lot. That's a lot for a striker to get their game off, So, and we're saying like, that doesn't even mean that he's not going to score against the big teams at all, but yeah. So yeah. O'Malley says Declan just disappears against West Ham at home. Bruh. It's probably just the price you pay for having a brilliant player like that. That's the blind spot. Every season that we play against West Ham, he's going to have a stinker. So yeah, I promise you, Gyokeres is bagging against West Ham this season. He must. But we've scored I swear, didn't we score 6 goals? And then last season we scored 5 or 4 or something. We scored like 10 goals against them at the London Stadium in the last 2 seasons. They're not great defensively. We just shit the bed at home. We've had several games over the last couple of seasons where, whether it was Villa or West Ham, those seem to be our bogey teams where we have all these chances and we just cannot put the ball in the back of the net. They come down twice, put the ball in the back of the net, 2-0 at home, ruins our season. That's it. 100% Gyokeres missed the first part of preseason. I knew he wasn't fit. Needs to shed a couple. Caleb, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, Jess, are we back? What do you think of our best 11? What do you think our best 11 is? We will go all the way, get my hopes up so they can get dashed again. Well, Caleb, it feels better to feel like you can win something and get your hopes killed than what I felt like maybe a couple weeks ago, which was, I don't even know if we really have a chance, to be honest. Everything would have to go our way. Injuries, as we've already seen, injuries may not go our way per se. So everything would have had to have been perfect pre the Eze signing. He's such a big signing for us. I cannot cannot be understated. But are we back? I don't know. Saturday felt good. Saturday felt good. It still wasn't perfect, like meaning like the performance still had holes in it, but we still like we beat the brakes off of them. And not even just like from a perspective of like the goals that we scored, but the amount, but they weren't even in the game. They weren't even in the game at all. Like they weren't a factor. And that's what I want to see. I want to see teams like Leeds, Burnley, Wolves, like teams like that come to the Emirates and not touch the ball and get blamed. That's it. So it felt good, and it was, I think, needed because we needed to just see a lot of goals and, kind of get the jitters out or whatever after the United game. But let's see, let's let maybe 5 games go by and let's see where we are. And I think we'll get a good indication of who we are, It's a long season, but do I feel good? Yes. I feel very kind of like, but I told you guys, I felt like we had a good chance if we had 2 level raisers in attack, and we've gotten those. So, why wouldn't I think that we can do stuff? I know it's only Leeds, but remember how we left games against Leicester and Southampton last season close? Shamaria making a really, really good point, like always. But there's just this element of like, we were so safe against Leeds where we made Leicester and Southampton hard work last season, and it should have been. Those were some of the worst teams to have ever come up to the Premier League. Mind you, all the promoted sides have a win already this season. Burnley, Sunderland, and Leeds have all won 1 game so far this season. So I'm feeling good. Like I am. I'm feeling like we can go to Anfield and get something. I'm feeling like we can go to the Etihad and get something. I feel like, we'll finally have the answers for the Villas and the Newcastles and those types of teams. So, Jess, do you think we will sell Nelly and bring in another left wing attacker? If this window got any better, I feel like a left wing would need to come in. That's probably the only thing I could say. And you guys know my feelings on Martinelli, and I really don't want to beat the dead horse, but I would love to see somebody like Malik Fofana come in. He is a baller. He is exactly what we need on the wings. Tricky, good 1v1, young, bright, talented. Would love it. He would only cost you like 35 million, which is a steal. So yeah, like I would love for something like that to happen. Do I think Nelly will go? I'm still a little pessimistic because like nobody's been really super interested in him this summer, but let's see how things develop. Maybe. But I do think Kivior will go. And they're saying that Arsenal, if we, I don't know if it's Zinchenko and Kivior, but we're looking at a left back. And I wouldn't mind a left back coming in because I know it would not be instead of anything else. We've gotten the attackers that we needed. So if we got a left back, like a young Tierney would be great for that position. Obviously not as injury prone, but a young Tierney type of player would eat with Eze on the wing because Eze is going to come central and be like another number 10. So having somebody that's a good overlapping fullback that can put in good crosses, yeah, that would be great. I feel like a surprise Bamba might hit us soon. Gyokeres will be top 4 EPL striker. Only Haaland, Isak, and Salah are better. Any news on the Saka injury? Did the report just say not as bad as feared, so presumably miss Liverpool? It did just say not as bad as feared, and so there's no time on it. So there still is, like, obviously every chance that they'll still miss Liverpool. So, I don't want to make it seem like they're going to play, but I think seeing the injuries initially, I was thinking out for maybe, especially in Saka's case, a couple months. If he ends up being out for just a couple of games, I feel like that's a win. even though we'd obviously prefer him to be there for Liverpool. So, yeah, I think not as bad as initially feared is 100% a win for us. Jacob says it's probably 2 to 4 week injury, and we know we have an international break. Park the bus encounter with Eze, Gyokeres, and Madueke sounds really good to me. It would be dumb to play Saka or Odegaard next week. Did you talk about Gyokeres penalty? That's what you want to see in a pen? 100%. I think the Gyokeres pen is it was just so powerful. Usually we do the placement, you know, run up and stall and then kick it into a corner, but it was just all power. So I love the penalty. It was perfectly placed. I'm happy that we have somebody that is desperate to take them, because as soon as Max Dowman got fouled, he was just hovering over Declan like, you're going to give me the ball, right? I like that. And somebody said Gyokeres celebrated like he was on a goal drought. And I'm like, he was. He was on a goal drought. He had not scored yet for Arsenal in a real game. He was on a goal drought for sure. So that's what we want. We're not used to it, though. We're not used to having players that are desperate to score goals. Last time we had that was Aubameyang, and he's been gone for like 7 years now. So yeah. But last but not least, I do want to talk about Dowman and Nani. I do think Nani had a good game. Not perfect, not, like I'm over the moon, or I'm going to start doing agendas. But I do think that he was good on the left, but really sparkly on the right. I was moved just ever so slightly. Not gonna lie. I liked it. I liked what I saw. I liked, the fact that I thought he pressed really well. I think, one thing I think I would like to see less of is maybe the crosses. They're not bad, but they're also not great. And I think his best qualities actually come when he takes his man on and then tries to do the low and hard cross over the floaty cross. But when he went to the right, he was kind of sparkly. He was kind of moving me a little bit. So I was happy with that performance. Still a ways to go, but yeah, Nani, you did well. You did well. Max, yeah. I mean, he is winning penalties every time that he steps onto the pitch. That is very, very useful. He won fouls as well, takes his man on every single time he gets the ball. What's not to love about Max? Youngest, like, debutante or whatever for Arsenal now, usurped Ethan. We don't have to hear people be bullshitters talking about Arteta's just doing it for his ego. Okay, Max is special, and he's gonna play this season. He's gonna play this season. I don't know how big of a role, but he's definitely gonna play this season. If we play games like this at home and we're blowing teams away, he's gonna get out there on the pitch. So it feels like we have, I don't want to speak too soon, but it feels like we have a little bit of like not an embarrassment of riches, but something like that. Like, like Nani's played well. We have Saka, we have Odegaard, but we have Ethan, but we have Max. Now we're bringing in Eze. It feels like got a lot, it feels good, so Max Dowman looked good when he came on. And so he'll probably just get better from here. I mean, damn. That guy's good. That guy's good. I don't know what else to say. You guys can say the rest, because every time he plays, he looks like a superstar. So, not gonna lie, we can't jinx it. The future looking bright. I can't lie. We're winning it all. Arteta probably thinking, what the hell this kid's doing with those baller moves. We also now have X Factor kind of in abundance. Our squad is so good, we are not used to it. I mean, I'm feeling very like, damn, we got a lot. Like this, not even seeing like no Martinelli and no Marino touching the pitch, but we just had like we saw all of our attackers outside of like Kai and Martinelli, really. And it just felt like a lot. Like, I don't know how to describe it because also Eze is not even there yet. If we were to bring in a left wing, I just don't know if I'd be able to handle it. It's the best squad we've had in like a million years. Max Dowman off the bench winning penalties is great. No stutter run up. Max Dowman is what Grealish should have been before the bald fraud ruined him. Drawing a foul in the opposition half is always good. Do you think Gyokeres is our new penalty taker from now on, henceforth? Yes. It was actually like reported that he is, so which is good. We should take those responsibilities from like Saka and Odegaard. The best penalty taker should take it, and it should usually be your 9. I'm a traditionalist in that way. I don't really believe in all this like, oh, switch it up and your captain does it or whoever. Your number 9, if they're on the pitch, takes the pens. Like they're the best person to take your pens. That's it. So yeah. No, it didn't usurp Ethan. Okay, it didn't usurp Ethan. It didn't. Ethan was younger still. But damn, they're just so young and they're good, Apparently we Eze signed this year only because he got married this summer, wedding FC. Prepare for cringe FC, celebration police. Arteta is a fraud, war with trophies from now on until the end of the season. Arteta better win quality silverware. Wild here. I'm calling it, guys. See me back here. Max will draw us a pen at Anfield and we will win it from that. Wilshere. Dowman to trip up LFC fullbacks in the 75th minute next week. I want Max to play at Anfield. It seems EPL defenders are still very naive when dealing with him, which is a weapon on its own. Potential world class with Max. Let's hope Real Madrid and Barcelona won't look at him. Saka can take corners. Gyokeres can take pens. Arsenal better bring me and Nkunku. I will fly to London myself and kiss Tim Lewis' big-ass forehead. Really, Sandiel? Really? You're still running Nkunku agendas. Sandiel, I can't do this with you today. I can't do it today. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm always with you until you take it to the Nkunku agenda. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I really don't get it. Why would we go this direction? Like, what? Oh, my goodness. Hale End strikes again. ESR and Iwobi draw against United. Martinelli always looks good against Liverpool. This is true. Jess, I'm overjoyed. I don't know how to act. Somebody asked earlier if I cried with the Eze stuff. Of course I did. I told you guys, I said I was going to cry if we signed Eze. You guys thought I was lying. No, I was like misty when we first started the stream because I was watching that interview that he did with Ian Wright. I'm like the biggest baby. I'll cry over anything. Like, hello? Like, of course I cried. Be serious. I think it should be Martinelli, then Eze, then Madueke. Nkunku will go to Bayern or Leipzig. He must be Edu in disguise. Yo, the Edu, Marinakis, Nuno, Espirito Santo stuff. Now that's my type of drama. I was enjoying that way too much. I was walking the dogs and I was like, stop. Stuff is happening with Edu and Marinakis. Hold on. Like, I was just sitting there like, I could not get over how juicy that was. I need a documentary. I need to understand what's going on here. I need to understand. I need an athletic exclusive to go deep into this breakdown, like super deep. Like, I need to know. Like, the tea was piping hot. It was piping hot. And unlike the Cronkies, Marinakis is taking Edu's side over Nuno Espirito Santos or Santo. And I just feel they're fucking up. But yeah. Don't say Marinakis. He might be watching us. I'm kind of scared to say stuff about him sometimes because I'm like, I don't want somebody knocking on my door, like, ready to, like, yeah. I get scared talking about him sometimes. Edu is just not it. What work is he doing watching Tom and Jerry running and chasing? I mean, I just think some people do not want Kia clients at their club. There's a reason why they're rarely employed, so I don't, or in playing and where they're playing and all that kind of stuff. I think, caught a whiff of the bullshit and was like, I don't want this shit, but we've been through it. We know what it's like. Edu does a lot of good things, but he also does things to derail the good stuff, so I just feel like, Nottingham Forest, we'll see how it goes for them. Now, while they're building, it'll probably be okay because they'll get enough good signings to lift them up. But, as you get higher up, there's less bandwidth, or less, you have to make sure that your signings almost have to be even more perfect the higher you get up. What's wrong with you? Don't come in here throwing up and doing nonsense. But case in point, when we had that transfer window where we bought 6 players, only 2 of those worked out in the end. Really. We got Sambi, Nuno, Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu, and Odegaard. Only Ben White and Odegaard really worked out through those. You can say Tomiyasu and Ramsdale were slight successes, but not really home runs. Now it's like you can't have a 6-person window and only 2 of them work out. Almost all of them have to work out because there's less room for the mistakes, and I think with Edu, now Nottingham Forest are moving into Europe, maybe he can get a couple wrong, maybe he can scandalize a little bit, but as they go further up, Edu just doesn't seem like the type of sporting director that's going to get those 2 or 3 perfect signings done because he's too busy trying to get Kia clients in the door, and Kia clients are not great, so yeah, stark. In hindsight, it looks like Edu was only doing certain things and Arteta was doing all of the coordination and organizational work, probably why the Cronkies made him manager. And they're saying that, Nuno is crashing out over not being able to sign Adama Traore. And he really wanted him, and Edu blocked it after good internal conversations. And it just made me think, how many signings did Edu block from Arteta potentially? Was there any times that Arteta had to go around Edu to the Cronkies and Tim Lewis and Garlic to try to get certain signings through the door because Edu was saying no? It's whether I like Adama Traore or not, or I think he's a good enough player, it's irrelevant. But as a manager, or a coach, if you want a specific player and you've done well and you've gotten the club to a certain level through your coaching, then I think you deserve a little bit of well, get me the player that I want. And if the sporting director is acting against you and you have no ability to go around him or maneuver, the only way is out the door, essentially, which is why I think it's breaking down. Let's see, Edu with his first piece of good advice, maybe the Due Crava was Edu's doing. Edu made our players unsellable. He got some sins to pay. Edu left bad taste with how he overpaid certain players, causing us to be stuck with them. What are your thoughts on Rice choosing not to score or square the ball to Gyokeres so he could set up Dauman to get his first goal? he's a great big brother. I think we were up like 4-0 at that point, so there was no jeopardy in it. I think if there was actual jeopardy, Declan would have shot that ball himself or given it to Gyokeres. But, Rice is the reported big brother in the club for Dowman. So I'm not really surprised that he tried to do that. And I thought it was a nice gesture. I think the lane had kind of closed up once the ball got to Dowman, and the picture wasn't clear, which is why he tried to pass it to Ethan, and it kind of got muddled from there. But yeah, I actually kind of like that. I like that he tried to do that. Declan's a good guy, footballing wise. I don't know who he is outside. He could be whoever, I don't know him like that, but he seems like a good like teammate and all those types of things. Good leader, all of that. That essay video was incredible. Best one since Abba. Damn, who's cutting onions. I mean, it just moved me so much. Like, as soon as I saw Ian, I was like, I just know I'm gonna cry. Like, it's just too much. I love Ian to death. Righty, it just ate. Like, it was perfect, exactly what it needed to be. Pulled on the heartstrings, but also like it was perfect. Like, I saw Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara talking about it and saying that it was just like so cringe and so this and so that. And I was just like, the people that get it, and the ones that don't. Obviously, I don't think Jamie O'Hara could see it for what it was because he's just still seeing red because they didn't get Eze. But I just feel like you get it if you understand, what it might have felt like to be a fan like we are of the club, to be playing for that club at 13 and then to get cut from, if you've ever been rejected or cut from something, then you understand what that feels like. But then if it's something that you love and it's a dream that you've had for your whole life, it had to be incredibly difficult. As I spoke about that, crying for weeks when he got cut, how much pride he had when he would go to school and be the kid that played for Arsenal. Being cut from several other clubs as well, getting his chance at QPR, coming to Crystal Palace, and then it coming full circle. So if you don't get it, then I don't expect you to get it. Some people just will never understand it. And I also feel like the content creators in particular that really understand it outside of Arsenal fans are, people of color, so I think to a certain extent, a lot of, especially like Black men and Black women, but Black men will always see the value and the positivity of a young Black man, grounded, humble, hardworking Black man getting his move, and getting that full circle moment. So some people just are not going to get it because they cannot connect to the pain that he probably went through and how hard he had to work to get to his full circle moment. And it wasn't handed to him. It wasn't something that came without real work. He had to basically go from the championship and work his way up. You just won't get it. Some people just won't get it, and that's fine. But even just talking about it now, I can feel like like I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so deep. Like, pause. That interview made me believe Eze is the type of player who would retire at this club. Eze looks so happy. He will bang for us. Yes, I agree. This is way bigger than football. It's inspiring. Exactly. O'Hara and Jason are haters. Ignore them. They can never understand. They would never understand it. He's one of our own. Are we doing player ratings? I have some big disagreements with AFTV. Well, no, we're not doing player ratings, but if you want to give your player ratings, I would love to read them, Johnny. I don't know what they gave people because I did not check, but I would love to see your player ratings if you're willing to share. O'Hara and Cundy just know their clubs. They don't have history. Exactly. I pray to God the boys saw the Salah and Van Dijk clip laughing at us. I want to know what I do if we beat them. Don't worry about the Spuds and the other rivals. I will wait when the time comes to face them. Crazy how Eze's life led him back to where he always wanted to be. Bigger than football after all that hard work and prayer. Exactly. It's just you just don't get it. If you don't get it, you just won't get it. Righty and Eze, Palace Evolve, and Arsenal fans, man, the way the I don't think I've had a soft spot for a club like I do for Palace ever. Like Palace just yeah, I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd have to be a Crystal Palace fan. They just they just get it. And you watch the fans and like the way that they were asking them how they felt about Eze going to Arsenal and was it a good fit. And even though some of them did not think it was a good fit, did not understand how he was going to fit in with our club, um, wished him the best and had no ill feelings. There wasn't any animosity or anything. A complete difference and like I mean it was night and day to what it felt like dealing with West Ham, which I don't really know why that is, but I think everybody in football felt very connected, happy, joyous, elated for Crystal Palace winning that FA Cup. It was more than just them just beating City. It was more about Crystal Palace, them winning this Community Shield. Yeah, Palace is a real one. Palace is a real one. Crystal Palace is like that is a really, really like solid club that I don't think anybody could find anything to dislike about them except for Brighton, you know. Um, also have it for Fulham as they help us to get rid of our bad signings. Almost all Arsenal fans like Crystal Palace for real, for real. Yeah, for sure. I think it's Arsenal's connection to like having um a deep history with inclusivity, Black players, things like that, and then Crystal Palace being in South London and them having them being a like a real culture club. I think we have those similarities, you know, and Crystal Palace is definitely like a streets won't forget type of club. They have players like, like Zaha and players like that that you just will never forget, just had that street kind of like real football, like they had it tangible. Um, it's like a untainted kind of non-filtered football that Palace has. The stadium, everything, you know. They'll always have my support unless we're playing them for sure. We got some players who would die for this club: Eze, Saka, Big Gabby, MLS, Ethan. The fact they paid 30 million for Eddie, I'll forever love them. That Palace mural they had in the FA Cup final of that fan who passed away hit deep still. So happy for them. They won it. They were unlucky in 2016. Do you think Zaha is looking at Eze's move like should have been me? Maybe. But I think he'll be happy for him. I think ultimately when you watch other people live a dream that you had, maybe there's a little bit of pain there, but I think ultimately, like, you'll always look at somebody that you care about or played with or have a connection to living their best life and you'll smile as well. So I would imagine Zaha is happy for him for sure. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Sorry. Um, it was Arsenal connection against United today, for sure. I have to go and look at the meltdowns because I know they have them. Having Righty as a club legend is a cheat code, 100%. Just you see the video with the cameo by Henri welcoming Eze? Yes. Yeah, I didn't get to finish the entire Eze interview, but that part I did see. It's just too much. It's too much. What signing have we had in your lifetime that puts you in your feels like this? I don't think there's been one. I didn't think it could get any better than Rice. That signing was special. What's wrong, sweetie? Come here. my dog is not feeling well. I'm gonna have to end this stream here. But if anything happens, I will definitely come back. But yeah, somebody is struggling. I think he ate something bad. But yeah, let's reconvene tomorrow. Regular time around 6 p.m. UK time. And hopefully, we're talking about some outgoings, but like this video and subscribe to the channel on the way out. Sorry, it's a little abrupt, but I'm looking at him and I'm like, yeah, he's not looking great. But like and subscribe on the way out, and we will definitely talk soon. Enjoy your afternoon, enjoy the Man United meltdowns, and enjoy all the Eze content. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.